The mysterious stranger stands completely still in the dark, his eyes fixed intensely on the sleeping Amrita. Just then, Chaitanya happens to be walking down the corridor. Noticing a shadowy figure lingering in Amrita's room, he quickly steps inside. Suddenly, the stranger grabs a heavy wooden toy and throws it forcefully onto the floor with a loud crash. Amrita wakes up with a terrified jolt. Seeing Chaitanya standing near her, she assumes he was the one trying to scare her and glares at him with anger. But Chaitanya points to the stranger. "That is Sanjay," Chaitanya explains, his voice stern. "The Queen's son." Chaitanya turns to Sanjay, his eyes narrowing. "Why did you throw that wooden toy on the floor?" he demands. Sanjay smirks, shrugging carelessly. "Just for fun, man." Disgusted and furious, Amrita gives Sanjay a piercing look and storms out of the room. Left behind, Chaitanya continues to glare at the arrogant prince, a silent warning in his eyes. The next day, a grand and lavish feast is held at the royal palace. Kings, queens, and noble relatives from far and wide gather together to dine. The grand hall is filled with laughter and conversation. Amrita, however, sits quietly, her sharp eyes observing the people around her. Across the room, she notices Prince Aditya stealing warm, secret glances at Adya. But there is another set of eyes watching. Sanjay's gaze is fixed entirely on Amrita, following her every move with an unsettling intensity. And standing in the distance, Chaitanya notices Sanjay's obsession. Amidst the celebration, dark suspicions slowly begin to take root in the shadows of the palace. As the hours pass, the grand hall empties. Only a few lingering guests remain. Amrita looks around and realizes that Prince Aditya is nowhere to be seen. Worried for his safety, she begins to search the palace corridors. She finally reaches Aditya's private chambers. Peeking inside, she sees him sleeping soundly in his bed. "Thank goodness," she whispers to herself, breathing a deep sigh of relief. But the relief is short-lived. Suddenly, a masked figure lunges at Amrita from behind. Before she can even scream or react, the attacker forcefully presses a chemical-soaked cloth over her nose and mouth. She struggles, but within seconds, her vision blurs. The world around her turns pitch black, and she collapses into unconsciousness. At that exact moment, Chaitanya realizes Amrita is missing. Panic sets in. "Where did Amrita go?" he mutters, frantically searching the palace grounds, extreme worry written all over his face. Far away from the palace, the masked man drags the unconscious Amrita into a ruined, abandoned warehouse. The place is suffocatingly dark and dead silent. Minutes turn into hours before Amrita slowly begins to regain consciousness. She forces her eyes open, only to realize her hands and legs are tightly bound with thick ropes. Her heart pounds fiercely against her chest. "Where am I?" she thinks, trembling in the darkness. Suddenly, the masked man steps out of the shadows. His eyes burn with pure rage. "Every time we make a plan," he snarls, his voice echoing in the empty room, "you step in and ruin it. But not this time. This time, we will kill you, and we will finally achieve what we want." Terror grips Amrita's soul. But just then, a sudden noise echoes from outside the warehouse, forcing the attacker to step out and check. Seizing the only chance she has, Amrita frantically scoots towards a sharp piece of rusted iron nearby and saws through her bindings. As the masked man steps back inside, Amrita grips a heavy wooden stick and strikes him across the head with all her might. "I need to get out of here now," Amrita tells herself, bolting out of the ruined building into the dead of night. She runs blindly through the darkness. Unseen rocks, scattered debris, and sharp corners tear at her skin. Blood trickles down her arms, but she refuses to stop. "Just a little further, just a little more and I'll be safe," she gasps, pushing her broken body to the absolute limit. Finally, she collapses onto the palace grounds. Chaitanya, who has been running frantically in search of her, freezes in horror as he spots her bruised and bleeding body lying on the ground. "Amrutha!" he screams, rushing to her side. He lifts her gently. "What happened to you? Who did this?" he pleads, his voice shaking. Amrutha slowly opens her eyes. The kidnapping, the masked man's death threat, the desperate escape, it all flashes before her. Gathering her breath, she recounts the horrifying ordeal. Though Chaitanya struggles to piece together the unbelievable story, seeing her battered state, he stops asking questions. "All right, let's get you inside first," he whispers, supporting her weight as they walk. But as they slowly make their way into the palace, a deep, haunting fear remains alive in Amrutha's eyes. The danger is not over yet, she tells herself in the silence of her mind.